now I'm going to show you another app which is called Gravity Sketch. Gravity Sketch is really useful for creating 3D models and is similar in many ways to Tilt Brush and Multibrush, but it's a little bit more centered on the idea of creating structural models. So for things like CAD or 3D modeling or product design, it can be particularly useful. So to give you an example of what you can do in something like Gravity Sketch, again, it's a little bit like a 3D Photoshop in the sense that you have a control panel on your left-hand side with your left-hand handset, and you can select from a variety of different options. And then on the right-hand side, you've got an option to pick from different colours. So let's have a look and see what it can do. So for example, I can draw something out in a very simpler fashion to Tilt Brush and look at it from different angles. I can also pick it up, move it around and delete it with this top left-hand button on my right-hand controller. I've also got an option for a slightly more structured stroke, which again I can adjust with my right-hand joystick to make different sizes. If I move up and down, this changes my selection bubble. So anything that falls inside this bubble I can select and I can pick up or delete, and I'll show you how that one works in a moment. So with this one I've got obviously more of a blobby structured line. Again, I can have a look at this from different angles, and let's just make my selection bubble a little bit bigger. And as you can see, if I then move the bubble over this, it selects it. If I then press this trigger here, I can pick it up and move it around, look at it from different angles. If I press my other trigger button, I can zoom in and zoom out. And if I let go of my right hand one, then I can let it go or pick it up. If I press the top left button on the right controller, I can also delete it as well. So I'm going to pick another colour. I'm just going to hold down on this button, and then I've got a choice of colours I can pick. I can even pick different types of materials as well. So let's go for something reflective. And let's go for something sort of bright reddish. So not only have I got the option of ink and stroke, but I can also create more sort of 3D style objects as well. So in this case, I can kind of create things around a curve or around a line. So this one's particularly fun for making things like chess pieces. In this case, I'll be making a very shiny chess piece. And you might be wondering, well, I can do this on other CAD programs like maybe Fusion 360 or SolidWorks. But the beauty of this is that it's very intuitive and it's very hands-on. So you're not kind of clicking or sort of dragging much. It feels very intuitive to use. You know, that it doesn't really feel like there's much of kind of a learning curve to get used to the software and what it can offer you. So as a way to kind of sort of create 3D models or prototypes, it can potentially be really useful. And there are a lot of designers now who are using things like Gravity Sketch in the first stage of their product design workflow to create an initial object. And then they might export it as an OBJ file later on and import it into a more traditional program to kind of finish off the final touches before taking it into the kind of the next steps of their production workflow. But as you can see, I've been able to create something quite quickly. There's other options that I've got on here as well. I'm going to switch to more of a flat material now. And let's go for a blue. So I can also create a surface. And with this one, I'm using the top trigger buttons on both controllers. And I can use it to create quite a curvy sort of flat surface. So something that would be quite complicated to do on something like Fusion 360 can be done in a matter of seconds in something like Gravity Sketch. I can also create voluminous objects. And again, this is just with one controller. And it allows me to just sort of drag it out in a very kind of natural and intuitive way. And the beauty of all of this as well is because we're working in 3D, I can pick everything up and I can look at it from different angles. Here I'm just using my hand controllers, but obviously I can also look around, and I can also walk around things if I've got the space to do so as well. So I'm just going to grab these, get rid of these. Let's keep the chess piece because I quite like it. I've also got things like shapes. So if I press and hold on any of these options, it brings up a larger control panel, and this is where you can see it can get quite technical and quite useful as a result. So there's a huge variety of different options that I can use. This is one that I particularly like, where you can draw two curves and then bridge them with a surface. So in this case I could draw something like this and draw something like this, and then with the surface tool I can select bridge curves, and then it therefore allows me to bridge the gap between the two curves, which could be really, really powerful. And as you might have seen there as well, I've also got options to be able to kind of sort of, if I grab something with my right hand controller and I press the top blue button here on my left hand controller, it also brings up advanced options. So I can pull out different curves, and I can get very detailed very quickly if I want to. It's not just a matter of, drawing things in a very simplistic fashion. I can create quite complex, CAD style designs very quickly, very intuitively, and in a matter of minutes. Here with primitive shapes, I can, look at more traditional shapes that you might use in something like engineering or potentially product design. But the beauty of this is that I can obviously do it very quickly and very easily, just with my hands, and move it around and see what it looks like. And then I can also set viewpoints as well, so I can view it from different angles depending on kind of what I'm working on. So this is quite a powerful tool, and it comes with lots of different options and lots of different controls. And the beauty of this as well is that it's now completely free. They used to charge about £20 for this, but it's now completely free. And there's also a collaborative version that you can access for use in education, where people can be in group shared spaces making objects together. So for example, you could be a teacher and you could have multiple students in one space creating or visualizing objects together in one space. So if I pull up the menu button on the top left button on my left hand controller, I've got various other options. So I can create a new sketch, I can save one, I can take snapshots, I can leave and exit to what's called the lobby, which is like my menu system. But there's a huge number of different options. I can bring in reference images, I can even bring in prefabs as well, which is particularly useful if I was going to design something for a person, for example. And then on my left hand joystick I can also wind back a timeline by twisting around to see things at different stages as well. I can add layers in a very similar fashion to Photoshop or Fusion 360, so I can layer things up. And there's a really nice kind of learn section here with lots of different tutorials which will teach you how to use this program and get the very most out of it. So maybe in the future we won't be using programs on a PC or a Mac to design 3D objects. We'll be doing it in VR instead. But maybe we were a little bit off that so far, at least for the moment. But one beauty is that you can use it to kind of obviously make simplistic models. And if I go to save here, I can save a sketch, but I can also export one as well. And as you can see, I can export it as an OBJ, I can export it as FBX, and I can also kind of set the size that I'm going to export it at as well. So I can bring it into the real world in a really kind of tangible way. And for any of you that work with 3D models, OBJ and FBX are obviously very, very popular, very well used file formats. And these can be then transferred into, say, something like Cura to 3D print, for example, or other programs to kind of share online as well. So I'm going to exit this one. I'm going to save this first. I'll do moving that out of the way. So let's just save it as untitled. And then I'm going to exit to the lobby. And under File Manager, I'm going to show you some of the things that you can also create as well. So one example here is something that I was playing around with recently. A model of a car. And as you can see, you can create quite complex sketches from this quite easily. So if you work with any students, or if you teach a subject where you maybe involve some level of product design, some level of visualizing 3D objects, then it's a great way to kind of sort of draw things out. Again, create mood boards, like I mentioned with something like Tilt Brush, and really kind of visualize exactly what you want to kind of sort of make and what you want to do with it. So for example, in this case, I could actually bridge some curves if I wanted to kind of flesh out and make a bigger 3D model. And I could use multiple layers to kind of draw over this initial sketch and make something quite tangible. If this is a program that you think, yeah, I might be able to use this, have a look on the Gravity Sketches website, which is gravitysketch.com. They've got lots of interesting sections on there which show kind of workflows from professional designers and show them how they use it, how they integrate it into their workflow, and how it might be, how it can sort of be used within the real world as well. But I do feel that having used this quite extensively, it will be the future of CAD and modelling for sure. One other thing that I'd like to show you is how you can use Gravity Sketch to visualize 3D objects that you might have already created on an existing 3D modeling program like SolidWorks or Fusion 360. So here's an example for you. This is something that I designed on Fusion 360 a few weeks ago, and the idea is that it's a dispenser for Nespresso coffee machine capsules. So I spent a bit of time modeling it. You can obviously pop the capsules in the top here, and then they kind of sort of roll down onto the bottom so they can be kind of picked up and used and popped into the machine. So what I've done here is I've saved the file on Fusion as an OBJ, and then I've basically imported it into Gravity Sketch through something called Landing Pad. Landing Pad is a website that is a service that's offered by Gravity Sketch, which you can log into on a computer. You can upload files onto Landing Pad, and then when you open Gravity Sketch up on your VR headset, it has all of the files ready for you to kind of access and view. So in this case, this is something that I actually went on to 3D print, and it took about 12 hours to do so. Obviously it's not a particularly big object, but with anything to do with CAD or 3D printing or modelling, it can take quite a lot of time to kind of produce and kind of create these objects. And VR is a really beautiful way to be able to kind of sort of imagine things and get an idea of what they look like, almost kind of with your hands. And in this case, as you can see, I'm kind of picking something up and moving it around, and kind of really understand an object before you actually make it. I understand that in industry, particularly within car manufacturing, this is now being used quite a lot, where you might create a 3D model of something to begin with, and then you visualize it in VR, and then you kind of sort of iron out any issues or any kind of problems that you might have with it before you actually make it. So even if you don't want to get your students kind of making things in VR, although I'd definitely encourage them to kind of have a play and have a go with it, they could use it to visualize existing 3D models that they're about to make or that they've previously made, to give them an idea of how that might work, whether it's going to be worthwhile, whether it's going to be worthwhile the cost and the time of making it, producing it, and manufacturing it in the first place. So again, a really nice alternative use for Gravity Sketch as well, for visualization of 3D models. This concludes the section on Gravity Sketch. In the next part, I'm going to talk to you about YouTube VR and how you can watch videos in 360 degrees.